March 21st, 2016. This is Radio Tokyo. I am, of course, your host, Jonathan, and with me again, as always, because for some reason he never goes away, is Nick. And Nick is about to piss me off here in about 5 seconds because I'm going to ask him a question that I'm pretty sure I know the answer to. And the reason he's going to piss me off is because I have no experience with this. So, Nick, just briefly, can you explain how amazing is the new season of Daredevil?
It is, let's see, how should I put this? It is awesome. I would say the first season, I think I liked a little bit better, but I binge watched Daredevil the entire Friday, which is why I was not here. And John was like, "We have to watch the show." And it's like, I have to finish this. I have to find out what happens. And so I apologize to everyone for that. But it was worth it, so I could tell you guys all the spoilers and ruin it for John.
Well, see, I do know that apparently the Punisher is revealed, and it well, actually I've heard some mixed reviews. Apparently, the portrayals of each character are spot on, just like John Barenthal being Punisher, and I don't remember her name, who plays Elektra, but apparently those are perfectly fine.
Oh
But
yeah,
there was
they were
there
great.
there there there,
They
there, there was apparently some concern with the plot line this season, so I don't know. I haven't seen it.
how spoiler heavy do you want me to make this?
It depends because I actually do have some actual spoilers for Batman versus Superman.
Do we want to make this just a spoiler episode for everyone?
Probably.
Okay. So the problem with Daredevil is it loses focus a lot of the time because basically you have two different storylines going on at the same time. Both, of course, involving Daredevil and both pulling him in different directions. Now, this is supposed to be like, trying to choose between his normal life and his hero life. And it ties into Civil War a lot. They argue about, the roles of vigilantes, and because Punisher is basically just slaughtering people. He is slaughtering gangs. He is just shooting them up with military grade weapons, and everyone's scared, and some people think he's a hero, and some people think he's a terrible villain, and the cops are really pissed off, and the government's pissed off, so there's a lot of ties in the Civil War. And that was a cool story. I actually liked the Punisher storyline a lot more than I liked the Elektra storyline. And I loved Elektra. Like, Elektra is amazing. She is beautiful, she is seductive, she is deadly. Um, she was great. Like, don't get me wrong. This is nothing against the actress that played Elektra. It is a million times better than the movie or the Daredevil movie. It is done so much better. Although there was one line that made me cringe because it made me think of the movie, but I think it's from the comic originally, so I wasn't that bothered by it.
So in other
But
words, in other words, you would suggest watching Daredevil season two.
yes, oh yes, definitely, please, everyone watch it. But my main problem is that the stories are so disjointed, and you really see that problem in the final fight because all the Elektra, Daredevil, and Punisher are supposed to team up to fight against the big bad guys. The problem is Punisher doesn't really come in till the end, and all he does is snipe a couple of ninjas. That's literally all he does, which is really a shame and a waste for how they built him up the entire season. And that was my one really big disappointment. I wanted to see Punisher going in guns blazing to help Daredevil and Elektra and, make a really big impact. But he just kind of snipes a couple guys, and he's like, "See you later, Ed." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
That,
However,
see, not having seen it, that actually sounds exactly what I would exactly what I would expect from the Punisher. I mean, no offense to Thomas Jane, who I think did a fantastic job as the Punisher in the initial movie, but
he is amazing. Or no, I'm sorry, not him. The new actor. What's his name?
John
Yeah,
Barenthal.
John is perfect. Whoever is the acting or the person that hires these actors to fit the roles, they need a serious pay raise because he is amazing as Punisher.
Well, see, he's had like for example, he was Shane in The Walking Dead, and
But see, I've
he
never
was
liked
such a
Chang in The Walking
bag of
Dead.
shit, a walking bag of shit in that
Yes,
character. You came to hate him,
yes,
and then the next thing he
yes.
was in fact, I watched this morning, Fury. I don't remember the character he plays in there, but he is in there. I just fucking grew to hate this man. I mean, just in his role in Fury, I came to hate him. I mean, it's
But okay, let me put it like this. I hate Shane. I really do from The Walking Dead. I absolutely hate the character, and it made me hate the actor as well to some degree. However, he completely redeems himself with his role as Punisher. I mean,
he's
it was
John Barenthal
brilliant.
is like he's one of the most okay, out of every actor I can think of who you can think of who is generally perfect in whatever role you put him in, he's pretty much it. Like, from what I have heard about him as Punisher, there's no one else who could ever play the role. You know, and
There isn't. He is as perfect as Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man. That's the only thing I can compare it to. Um, I mean, Captain America is about as good as a Captain America as we will ever get. However, I still think the standard is Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, and he matches that, if not surpasses it. He moved me to tears at some points as Punisher. Like it, just watching him alone is worth watching the entire second season and binging it.
well, see, one of the spoiler-free reviews I read about it said that uh that Netflix's Daredevil could roll directly into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like the movies, and there would be no
It could,
question about it because every character on the show would fit, which actually makes me very happy to hear.
yeah, they could easily incorporate Daredevil into Civil War. In fact, it almost has the Civil War storyline going on. Basically, Daredevil at first is fighting Punisher because he doesn't like anyone dying, and he tries really hard to get Punisher to stop killing people, unsuccessfully, of course. But I mean, that's basically the first act of season two, and it's really good. It's really good. You have these two opposing views, and neither one of them is really willing to give in. And even when they do team up, Daredevil is constantly stopping Punisher from killing someone. He's throwing his baton to knock the gun out of his hand before he does a headshot to one of the bad guys. He's knocking people out before Punisher can get to them. It's brilliantly done.
Speaking of brilliantly done and things that are amazing, it's not that I don't want to keep talking about Daredevil. I would love to. I would just rather wait until I've seen it before we get a little more in depth. But I do want to talk about something just for a moment before we actually get to discussion about some trailers that came out this week. Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice is of course coming out on Friday. Uh, my local theater is actually playing it on Thursday. Two different shows, but I can't make either one of them because I have prior commitments. But I do actually surprise have a date on Friday to go see it. Yes, go me.
Oh,
Um, but
nice.
the actual premiere was last night at I believe Radio City Music Hall, and I just want to read Now, of course, everyone who saw it had to actually sign a written statement that said that they would not reveal any plot details. But I do want to read a uh, a few little quick snippets of what people have said about it, and then I want to talk about some of the new scenes that have been shown this week. The first quote. This is Emma Grit from The Sun. Oh, my phone just cut off on me.
Hmm.
That's helpful. Well, hang on one second. Damn Apple
Technical
products.
difficulties. GP. Well, while we wait for that, I'll just talk about Daredevil a little bit more. Um, the story with Elektra is well done. It's not bad. Uh, I I just wish there was more of it, honestly. It feels rushed at times, and it feels a little bit disjointed along with the storyline for Punisher. Um, and it's kind of weird how he accepts her killing people at a certain point. Uh, to a certain degree, at least. It, but I love the actress. She did an amazing role. Like I could not pick a better Elektra. I really couldn't. I was just in awe. I was like, wow.
Okay, here we go. Sorry, I'm sorry about that. It just I was looking at it on my phone instead of having another actual window open, but on my computer. But anyway, the first quote is the intensity of the insanely long film. By the way, the movie is 2.5 hours long. Uh, when it's actually released, it will be upwards of 3 hours, I think. Anyway, the intensity of the insanely long film is achieved with special effects, plot twist, geeky references, and the volume being turned up to 11 from start to finish. While die-hard DC comic devotees might be punching the air as the Justice League are teasingly introduced, the average film fan, the average film fan may be left scratching their head. Overall, Zack Snyder's Batman v Superman blockbuster is an emotionally charged punch-up, but its newcomer Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman is who really steals the show. And then there's a series of tweets from people that I'm not going to read all of them, but the general consensus consensus seems to be that Marvel had better get their shit together because apparently this movie is better than anything Marvel has put out, and that's saying a lot. Like what we from what I understand from having read these initial reactions, what we have seen the trailers, even like tonight in tonight's episode of Gotham, which by the way, Paul Rubens is amazing in. He plays the Penguin's dad. I loved it. This was also the first night where we got to see the Riddler actually being the Riddler. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful episode. It really was. But uh, even the scenes that were shown in that, and something that was actually played on, I believe it was Good Morning America around Friday or so of last week, which I actually do have the audio clip of, and I do want to play it here in a second. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and play that. Hang on one second.
This is how a democracy works. We talk to each other. We act by the consent of the governed, sir. I have sat here before to say that shadow interventions will not be tolerated by this committee. Neither will lies. Because today is a day for truth.
And that, of course, is Senator Finch, and that's the scene that apparently the entire movie seems to hinge on. The plot of the movie is, again, for like what you remember, you and I had the discussion like a week or so ago about it, Nick.
Yeah.
Apparently, you and I are wrong
About what?
about the movie. Do you remember how I suggested that this movie seems to be about Batman actually testing Superman to find out how
Yeah,
worthy he is.
yeah.
That actually seems to be only a part of it. The clip that was shown tonight on Gotham, which I wish I had and I could play, it's a narration by Bruce Wayne, and I have no idea who he's talking to, but he's talking about Wayne Manor, and he gives a little bit of his family's history, and he says that the Wayne family were all hunters, and that was how they built up. So that's why they had so much land and so much wealth and everything, because they were always taking all these prize animals, and you know hearing that and comparing it to what was just played in the scene with Senator Finch, I kind of understand a little more. That all combined together with the reviews, I kind of get an idea of what's going on. This movie is essentially it is kind of like we agreed. It's Batman testing Superman, but a larger portion of it seems to be humanity trying to understand exactly where these people fit in. You know, like for Batman having been around for I think 10, 15, 20 years, whatever it is, and now Superman showing up. Humanity essentially has to figure out, basically Gotham and Metropolis have to figure out exactly where just an average, everyday, normal person, fits in here. And the reaction, the initial reactions, everything seemed to kind of be saying that. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought about how, for example, the potential spoiler that the Justice League is actually in the movie, and they just come together, and and it's more than just Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman. I kind of see how that that is actually what it is. It's going to be more than just Batman and Superman, trying to figure one another out. So I'm
Which that makes me happy because I really did not want the whole movie. I did not want a 2 hour slugfest of Batman and Superman. I mean, them fighting is cool and all, but it would just get boring at a certain point. So that actually makes me really happy to hear that.
well, the initial reactions all say that you won't even notice the time link. Like it's not nonstop, but it's nonstop enough to make you want to sit there and watch the whole thing. And for it being 2.5 hours long, that's a long damn movie. There was a lot of concerns raised about this versus Deadpool, which is about an hour and a half. And one of the concerns was, well, look at how much they got thrown into Deadpool. Yeah, Deadpool is a beautiful movie. I mean, it's probably actually no, fuck it, it is my favorite Marvel movie thus far. Now it might be surpassed by Civil War here in a few weeks, which is very very likely. But currently, Deadpool is the mark to hit. And yes, they crammed an awful lot into an hour and a half, and it was very well done. But this, like I said, is supposed to be the introduction of the Justice League. And there's a lot to establish for some of these characters. So it really would not surprise me. You know, the length of it is not a surprise to me. Because there's a lot that has to go into it. So um, I think what we're going to see is Batman. Can act. I do think Batman will be doing, the traditional role of his is like, look, I'm a human being. I'm going to take you on to test your mettle. I I do think that's a part of it, but I do think the rest of it is actually going to be humanity having to come to terms with the fact that there are these godlike abilities who just, I'm sorry, godlike entities who walk amongst them, and I think that's going to be really the selling point to the movie to me.
Yeah, I mean that's a much better angle to me for the movie than just focusing on how the Justice League is supposed to fit into the world. My curiosity would be much more about how the average person is supposed to fit in a world with these people and beings, and those are all very positive things for me to hear. I'm still a little bit concerned about the length of the movie. I mean, I'm sure you and I will just, have a ton of fun just sitting through the entire thing.
Well, it's
Um,
you know,
but like that one tweet you read about the average person just sitting there scratching their head a little. I'm a little bit worried about that.
well, see, it's it has enough for DC fans. Apparently, it has enough for DC fans of the movie to watch and say, "Holy shit! I know who that is. I know who that's gonna be." Like it's done that way intentionally. It's kind of like watching. Okay, if you take Gotham as being, the standard for what the DCU is going to have to come up with, you're spot on. Like that's a really good example of what the movie might be. But speaking of movies, speaking of people having to come to terms with things, I want to talk a little bit about the new Warcraft TV spot, which came out like Friday, I think. Yeah, Friday afternoon, and we were supposed to have gotten to it, but we never did that day because you were watching Daredevil.
Worth it. I'm sorry, people. I'm sorry, but it was worth it.
It's okay. But the trailer opens like it's only about a minute long, and there is more crammed into this minute than I think we have gotten even in like the full, 2.5, 3 minute long trailer. There is more in this that got me excited than anything else.
Yeah, I've seen it, and it looks really, really good. I love the one scene of Ironforge. I really want to see more of Ironforge. Stormwind is a beautiful city and a beautiful design, but Ironforge is just so symbolic of the Alliance and World of Warcraft, and I really, really want to. I hope they have a lot of time in Ironforge because it just looked amazing from that short little clip.
Well, see, I don't actually know who this dwarf is that's in here. Which, by the way, this is the first time we have seen a dwarf. We had seen, like we discussed a couple months ago, there are actually elves, like high elves, in the trailer, so you do get to see them. But I have a feeling that this might not just be a regular dwarf. I think it might actually be Magni Bronzebeard, or uh, uh, Mirrodin. Just
It,
one of the two. I mean,
it is definitely someone important, I have to imagine.
well, I mean, if he's standing next to King Lane, I'm sorry, Lothar, it's got to be someone
Yeah.
vaguely important. But that was one of the new scenes that was shown. There was another one with Lothar, and I believe it's Khadgar, and I'm sorry, Medivh. I'm sorry, excuse me. And they seem to be opening a portal. Uh, but there's another very quick shot not long after that where you see the same strange blue light actually reach out and strike what looks like some orcs. So I'm not sure, but it's a very very interesting scene to look at. And then of course there's Garona in the throne room, and I just want to say real quick, Paula Patton is gorgeous as Garona. I really can't think of anyone else they could have gotten for this role other than her.
I, I have to say the orc women are very, very beautiful, beautifully done. Like they are very well done.
And then, of course, at the very end there is the new. Well, it's not really the new logo. It's just another movie. But this is the first time I've seen it actually have a rating on it. So, those of you who are watching at home, that's why you're seeing a still shot of that. It's just so you can see the ratings. It's going to be PG-13, which is fine. I wanted to get a shot of. It's actually going to be Black Hand. If you watch the trailer, you'll see. Um, I just forgot his name. Shit. Durotan. I'm sorry, Durotan. I don't know why I thought it was for his name. Durotan, when he's fighting the fell green orc. Initially, when I saw this, I thought that was actually going to be Gul'dan, but it's not. He's actually going to be fighting Black Hand. The reason I know this is because Gul'dan is in the movie. He does have the spikes and stuff coming out of his shoulders, and he is in this scene. So he is in the same general point in the movie. But Black Hand's already been described as having these giant bones that are on his shoulder, like pauldrons. And if you look at the character that Juritan is fighting, uh, he has these giant skulls on his shoulders, and the spines hang down behind him like a cape. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be black hair.
Which is, I mean, it looks pretty good so far. It looks really good so far.
But that same day, of course, we had the new X-Men trailer come out, and I'm still on the fence about this. I mean, I'm really enjoying the younger cast members. You know, for example, Days of Future Past, I think, is probably the best X-Men movie that's come out. I mean, it's really good to me. But there was the new trailer that came out, and it kind of shows a little more about what you can expect from Apocalypse. So, of course, you know, there's shots of him. Apparently, Angel will go from being Angel to being Archangel. Uh, and then, of course, we're going to have Psylocke, who you actually get to see her actually do something in the movie. And I'm a big Olivia Munn fan. I think she's amazing and wonderful and beautiful. So I'm actually really excited to see what she will do for Psylocke, and I really enjoy the portrayal she seems to be giving of Psylocke so far.
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought she was a underrated actress. Someone that probably should be getting more roles in Hollywood, I'd say. I've never really understood why she hasn't gotten them. I'm really excited to see her doing her thing right now.
But the trailer, you know, shows you the four horsemen and you know like the different ones, and I was actually surprised to see Magneto get a new costume. It's purple and blue. It's no longer you know that red cover has been. But then there's a shot of all of them with Apocalypse standing in Cairo, and this is the point where the trailer actually starts to talk about what Apocalypse's plot is going to be. And apparently that is destruction. Of course, if you're familiar with the comics or X-Men cartoons or whatever, you know Apocalypse wants to kill all of mankind. So there's a shot where you see what I feel comfortable saying is nuclear warheads being launched from every silo possible.
Yeah, which is, I wonder if that's actually going to happen, or it's a dream scene, or what's going on there.
I don't know, but I mean I'm interested in this movie, but I'm not. You know, I don't really know what it is that's kind of putting me off about the movie, even though you know the Blackbird will come back, and I kind of like the new hangar, and I kind of like you know getting to see some of the new X Men, especially getting to see um uh I just forgot his name. I am horrible. I am horrible today.
Um, I, I don't, I'm not usually any better with names, so. Well, at least you figured it out.
I shouldn't. I'm sorry. I'm drawing a blank, even though I can think of his real name. And I know what he did. He's blue. He vanishes. His name is Kurt. He was in the circus, and I should fucking know his name. I don't know why I forgot this. I feel so stupid. Anyway, get to see him finally, and it's. I think what it is the images I've seen of Jean Grey. I just have reservations about the actress portraying the young Jean Grey because I've watched her in Game of Thrones, and I kind of get the feeling that her as Jean Grey is going to be an hour and a half, 2 hours of that exact same thing.
I'm a little worried about Mystique. I mean,
I'm
I,
kind of
I,
tired
I
of
was,
her, to be honest.
Yeah, Hunger Games was not that great to me. It wasn't.
I mean, thus far, Mystique has been in pretty much every X-Men movie, in
But
some form,
somehow
and
this is seems to be a weaker version. I don't know. There's just something weird to me about it.
I'm just really I'm tired of Mystique. I mean, I really am. I mean, like, why can't you just retire the character? Like, why is she so goddamn important to the whole series that she has to be in every movie? It's kind of like having Wolverine and everything. Now, sure, Hugh Jackman's awesome. Sure, Hugh Jackman's attractive. Sure, I like his version of Wolverine. But I'm so goddamn tired of Wolverine. I'm tired of Wolverine,
Yeah,
and I'm tired of Mystique. Give me some other fucking X-Men. At some point in time, give me another one.
I mean, it's I lost interest in X-Men, honestly. Like,
Nightcrawler. I just thought I was name. I'm sorry, but it's Nightcrawler. Sorry, go
oh
ahead.
yeah. But I mean, I legitimately lost interest in X-Men 5 to 10 years ago or so. I mean, after X-Men 3, it was just I stopped caring, honestly. I think I watched the Wolverine movie where he was battling the Silver Samurai. That was kind of okay. It was basically just an action movie. But I mean,
Well, I watched it. I just didn't really care. I mean, it was kind
yeah,
of
I mean
stupid.
that's the general feeling I have of X-Men movies is I might watch them, but I really don't care. I have no there's nothing really in it for me where I just generally care.
That's kind of why I said I think X-Men: Days of Future Past is probably. Now, I'm not saying First Class is bad. First Class is really good. But Days of Future Past is probably my favorite one. And
And the sad part is I've just had no interest in X-Men so much that I still haven't seen those. I really haven't. And
well, see,
I've heard good things about them. I've
I'm
heard
kind of
really good
worried.
things about them.
I'm kind of worried that they're going to do what has been my biggest fear. Now, see, here's the thing. There's supposed to have been some little schism in the time stream or whatever bullshit story they've come up with. So all the original movies, going back to like '98, whenever the hell it first came out, nearly 25 years ago. Jesus. Um, all of those movies and then the newer ones that are coming out with the younger actors are actually connected. They're all one big story arc, which is why you have the original actors like Famke Jensen and Patrick Stewart and whatnot actually reprising their roles as the older ones. So that's fine. I'm okay with that. Like I understand that you want to connect these two separate lineages of X Men. That's fine. Whatever. But I'm kind of the point that I don't give a shit. You know, and I had this fear that it's going to be like I think it was X-Men 3 where you had basically you could throw a dart and hit a mutant. I kind of worry they're going to have a point where it's going to be like that, where you're going to have so many different X-Men or good or bad mutants, whatever you want to call them, thrown in here, and you're just not, it's not going to fucking matter who they are. It's kind of like the concern that I have for Infinity War because I believe there's supposed to be 32 separate characters, 30 fucking two separate characters in the movie. I don't give a shit. I really don't.
It, it's going to be definitely that's one thing where Marvel does start to get out of hand is some of their team up movies and series and comics and things. Justice League tends to just be about a couple, 8 to 9 heroes or less. Um, but when you start getting into the Marvels, Infinity War, Civil War, there's just so many people in them and so many storylines to follow. It's so much to analyze, and it gets a little out of hand. If there's one thing
Well,
I
see,
criticize about
the thing with
Marvel's,
me is with the Civil War storyline, it there's no well, other than Spider-Man, there's no new characters being introduced. It's all the ones that we've all seen before, and I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. Guardians of the Galaxy,
yeah,
I'm fine with that because they're kept separate. With the Avengers, I'm fine with that because they're kept separate. And when the abysmal Fantastic Four movie came out, I would have been fine. They could have kept that going. I would have been fine. It's okay. I get that. You want to try and introduce all these characters as much as possible because it's kind of at its point, it's kind of like Transformers. You just, you know, shit out a new character
or
because you want to sell
GI
toys. I get that.
Joe, or yeah, or Power Rangers sometimes, or it's not something that really bothers me, but it does make it more difficult to tell the story.
It does, especially when you get, like I said with Infinity War. It's gonna be something like 32 named characters. Okay, let's see if I can name these motherfuckers right now. Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow, Ant Man. Fuck it, no, I can't. I can't even get past 5 without having to actually stop and think. That's pitiful because there's too many. Now with the Justice League, sure, I can name everyone in that movie because I know them all. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman, who I don't give a shit about, and Cyborg, Green Lantern, and then Flash. Look at that. That's like 7 people. I can name them all. I have an interest. I can deal with 7 characters. I'm fine with that. Which is like with the Avengers. There's like 6 of them. I'm okay with that. I can deal with that. But when you start fucking around with the members of the team, or you start adding more, and I'm like, I just don't care. And at this point, for the X-Men, going back to that, we're gonna have Professor X. Wolverine is not in this, thank God. Uh, Magneto, Storm, Psylocke, Angel, uh, Nightcrawler, Beast, um, Mystique, Cyclops, Jean Grey. Like I'm already at over 10 trying to name characters, and there's so many I just can't name them. That's too damn many. I'm sorry, Marvel. That's too many.
I mean, I can name them for the most part. It's definitely not the easiest thing to do, but it's definitely something. It's something I guess I've grown used to with Marvel. It's just one of those things where I kind of accept it as is and don't really worry too much about it. But I do definitely understand the feeling of there's just too much going on, too much here.
Well, see, it's not that I don't know the characters. It's not that I can't name them all because I actually can. I don't mind doing that. And I don't mind getting to see them all on film. I'm okay. I'm perfectly okay with that. In fact, I want to see them all sooner or later. But the reality is, if you keep adding in new characters like this so quickly, ones who really aren't even pertinent to the goddamn storyline. I mean, how does Psylocke and Storm come into this? I mean, thus far everyone has seen of Storm. Oh, she's a mutant. She's an X-Men. She's a good guy. Now here it is. All of a sudden, she's a bad person. Okay,
Yeah, the
yeah,
Storm is the one
and
that confuses me the most.
and see
Like, why is she helping?
in the comics, I believe
Oh,
she
why is she
was a
helping?
bad person at one point in time. That's fine. I can deal with that. Psylocke, the average person is not gonna fucking know who Psylocke is. The average person is not even going to know who Angel is, or even Archangel, even though Angel was actually one of the original X-Men team members, like the very original in the 1960s. Angel was one of them.
Yeah,
But the average person is probably not going to know who they are, and I'm sorry. The average person, like for example, probably does not know who Ant-Man is. You know, it's just you're adding in all these characters that no one gives a good goddamn about. But see, the thing is, other than probably Cyborg, as far as the DC universe goes, every character they're going to have in the Justice League movie, everyone is someone that people are aware of.
Yeah, I mean, that's where, I mean, depending on how much you follow DC Comics, I would definitely agree with that.
But see, truthfully, I'm actually more excited to go see Batman than I think I am anything else this year. Other than maybe Suicide Squad, because Suicide Squad is like the more I think about it, the more I want to go see it. You know, not that I wasn't going to, not that there was ever any doubt that I would go see it. It's just I'm actually more excited. You know, especially with given what we've discussed tonight. I'm actually much more excited about seeing Batman vs Superman. But I think we have kind of probably hammered the last nail into this coffin for now.
Probably. I mean, hopefully we'll get to see the movie fairly quickly so we can make our final judgments and see how we think things will proceed from there. But I mean, it's now we just kind of have to wait.
Well, at least until tomorrow, because the actual plot points and stuff are going to be released tomorrow. I think it's 7 p.m. Eastern or something like that. I don't remember, but I
And
don't know.
we'll see.
It just
I'm
it
sure there'll be some people who love it and some people who hate it, and we'll argue about it, of course, whether we both love it or hate it. Just
well,
'cause.
I do know that just reading through some of the tweets that were about it. One of the things that gave me the most hope was actually something that was said about Ben Affleck as Batman. Um, the person who posted it, said that they have been a Michael Keaton as Batman fan for a long time, and they're able to consistently defend everyone who's ever been Batman on film at all. Like for them, they're the best in that universe. But this same person
Mhm.
said that whenever you see Ben Affleck as Batman, you will not recognize anyone else as Batman ever again.
That's a pretty high compliment.
And Ben Affleck is actually a really good actor. I mean, depending on the role you put him in, he's even better.
Yeah,
And
I think he's very cast. Like, he needs a certain kind of role in order to really bring out his talents. I'd put it like that.
it just like okay, just think back to the trailers. Okay, there is one defining trait that every iteration of Batman has got. And when you think about it, and it's the little half smirk that Bruce Wayne or Batman does. Like it's just the way, like the little grin. Uh, think about it. Christian Bale
Mhm.
did it. Batman, the animated series, both Bruce Wayne and Batman did it. When you watch the BVS trailer, you will see Ben Affleck do it, and even David Mazouz in Gotham does it. Like just this little kind of smirk, and it's the traditional Batman smile, and Ben Affleck does it so well, and I'm excited. I'm really excited to see him as Batman because I haven't seen anything coming out of it thus far that I really dislike. And if what these rumors are saying is true, and the trailer really does not do justice to the Justice League, I think it's gonna be definitely worth seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping for big things. Even if DC is better than Marvel, or DC's universe is better than Marvel, or they're just amazing, I really don't have a problem with that, or think it'll be really a threat to Marvel. I think there's more than enough room for both universes and stories, and as we said before, they're different styles, different parts, different heroes. It'll be fun. I'm excited.
I think it will be, but honestly, uh, given that this is the first really big DC movie we're gonna get, now I'm not saying that every other Batman movie, Superman movie, whatever has never not been, but given that this is the first movie we're gonna see them all in, my hopes are very very high with this because as soon as I saw the initial trailer, my interest was peaked higher than anything else, and now that I know it will tie into Suicide Squad, I'm anxious to speak even more. So I'm pretty sure when I come out of it on my date, at the end of the date, I'll be more excited about this than I have about anything else. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and put that out there. I have no qualms right now saying that this is probably going to be one of the best movie going experiences of this year for me.
Yeah, I'm and it better be because you're bringing a date, so it
Well,
better
see,
damn well be.
I'm also incredibly like you and I have discussed this more than once. You know that I I actually do have a huge bias. I am a DC fan. It's not that I don't like Marvel. It's just I have always preferred DC comics to Marvel. Like
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Marvel. You're just kind of like the sprinkles on top of a giant sundae. Like you're literally the sprinkles on the sundae. DC is the fucking sundae to me.
I disagree. I'm a little bit I'd say I'm about even, maybe a little bit more of a Marvel fan than DC. But there's nothing wrong with either of our opinions, other than you're wrong and I'm right. But
See, interesting enough,
there's nothing wrong.
I was gonna say there's nothing wrong with it other than the fact that you're wrong.
We no. See, this is why we have the show. This is what we're going to debate later on. We'll watch
Fuck
it
Marvel.
and we'll argue.
Fuck Marvel.
But that is unnecessary, sir.
Fuck
That is
Marvel.
unnecessary.
Fuck
That
Marvel.
is completely unnecessary.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's
You're
not.
just being Donald Trump. Don't be Donald Trump, kids. Don't be Donald Trump.
Okay, look. Okay, seriously, think about this. I do not remember this man's name. I should know his name. But just to give you an idea of why it is I actually like Batman so much more. Do you remember in The Dark Knight when the Joker breaks in? Patrick Leahy, that's it, Patrick Leahy. When the Joker walks into Bruce Wayne's house and he grabs the white-haired man and holds a knife to his face.
Yeah.
That was actually a sitting U.S. senator. Like, Batman at movies and TV shows have actually had people like that in the show. It's like that much of a connection to the fans. I mean, Superman and Batman are actually anyone in the Justice League is. If you find someone who likes comics and stuff like that, uh, they'll probably name someone who's in DC as being their favorite over anyone in Marvel. Because, like I said, Marvel is flashy. I mean, that's really all they are. I mean, it's like they came around well after DC was in place. And if you look at the characters, they're just haha flavor of the week type characters. But DC has staying power. I mean, like Batman and Superman are both at this point upwards of 80, and they're still consistently performing well. Except maybe Superman, but that's because he's Superman, and Superman is.
There's only so many Superman stories you can tell.
Well, I was actually watching something about it last night. About like okay, for example, the storyline that everyone's aware of is the death of Superman. Like everyone knows about the death. But everything, other Superman storylines, no one really gives a shit about him. Because he's Superman. But the death well, his death and onward, that was actually done because sales Superman were actually lacking, and DC wanted to try and generate some new interest in who at that point was pretty much their oldest established character. So they killed him off and had this big, huge storyline, and brought him back, and now everyone likes Superman again. And then then Marvel followed that by killing off Captain America.
Yeah.
So basically, so basically, Marvel is a day late and a dollar short as far as storylines and characters and everything. Like they basically rip off of the. I have no, issue saying this. Marvel rips off DC regularly, but Marvel is bigger. They're flashier. They're like, look at me, and that's what I get from Marvel. I'm sorry, it's just exactly what I get from Marvel. But like, if I want staying power, for a character. I want someone who's going to have an actual definitive storyline I'm going to give a shit about. It's going to be something from DC. Because I'm sorry. Just think about this. How many Marvel storylines do you actually give a good goddamn about?
Let's see. Spider-Man, obviously. Captain America.
Not the characters, actual storylines. Like, how many storylines have you read that matter to you?
Oh, like the actual stories?
Yeah.
I mean, I generally follow characters more than storylines.
Okay, so reverse that. Reverse that. Same question, but for DC. How many different storylines for DC have impacted you enough to care about them?
Like I said, I generally follow the characters more than the storyline. Like, if you're asking me what particular storyline impacted me, I can't really think of one in particular that really would say move me or that this comes up, because at least the way I approach things, the way I think of things, is like I think of the character more than the actual storyline.
See, and as long as we've been doing the show, you've only ever really expressed interest in one Marvel storyline. One. And that will be Civil War. One storyline.
Oh, no. That was mostly only because of the movie. It wasn't really particularly Civil War itself. The reason I talk about Civil War so much is because the movie coming up, because that's what's relevant right now.
I know, but see, what I'm saying is, at least in the entire time I've been doing the show, that's really the only one you've ever talked about. You know, it's just Civil War storyline.
Yeah,
but yet we regularly bring up storylines like Dark Knight Returns, Death in the Family, Death of the Family, and stuff, and that's just for one character. You know, and then we have Death of Superman, then we have the Return of Superman. Like all these other characters have had their storylines, and we've discussed all of them. Looks like there's more, powerful storylines for DC.
I think that's an unfair comparison, honestly. Like,
not
I
really.
don't think that's fair. That's
okay,
not really
okay. Better yet, let me ask you this: which would you rather have for storyline? Okay, Watchmen or Guardians of the Galaxy?
I don't know. I mean, I like.
Okay,
I
how
really
about
like Guardians of the Galaxy.
okay? How about standalone movies? Watchmen or Guardians of the Galaxy?
Guardians.
Fuck you. No, you're supposed to say Watchmen.
It's a better movie. It is a better movie.
See, I think at some point in time you're going to have to justify why it's. But now it's not that I can find a lot of reasons to disagree with you, because I'm sorry, but Guardians is actually very, very well done. But I do.
Yeah,
I think
Watchmen is very comic accurate. However, as a movie, it's not well done. I'm sorry, it's not well done as a movie. If you're arguing about comic accuracy, sure, Watchmen wins. But if you're arguing about what's the actual better movie, what would I want to sit and watch over and over and over again? It's gonna be Guardians.
So why is it that you hate the Watchmen so much?
It's just slow. It's just it felt like they were trying to do too much and they couldn't flesh out all the side storylines. Like, sure, everything makes sense if they read the comic, but I haven't read the comic yet. So watching it, I know about the comic. I know some of the storylines and the general ideas.
Well,
but
see,
even watching it, it's just...
the thing for me is, I've actually never read the comic. I would like to at some point in time. I just never have really had the chance to do it.
No, actually, that's the basis of my comparison. I have not watched the comic, or I have not read the comic for Watchmen or Guardians. Guardians is much easier and better to get into. I learned about the characters. I got into their story, their backstory, was wrapped up fairly quickly. They were introduced, and we got into what was happening.
Like I said,
Watchmen,
flashier movie that
Watchmen
draws
was
your attention.
all over the place.
Well, see, the problem I have with
Watchmen was all
Watchmen,
over the place.
the problem, the real problem I have with Watchmen is that like it's probably little, it's a little over two. I forget how long it is exactly. But if
It
you,
felt like it needed to be multiple movies.
it does, and the reason is that I know enough about the comics to know that, for example, when you see like the opening sequence where you see Dollar Bill and Mothman and stuff like that, all those characters actually had storylines. That now they were just kind of little one-shot storylines in the comic, but it actually gives you full detail about them, and what you actually see in the movie itself is distilled down from the comics to the extreme. Like there's a whole bunch of shit that was thrown in there. But
Yeah,
that's
and
why I
I
like it
mean,
so much. It actually makes you
it,
think. You know, it's like watching it.
well,
Oh, well, I want to know. You know what the like for example the other people who are in the Watchmen. You know, like what is their story? What happened to them? You know, why are they relevant enough to have a scene, in the opening credits and to be mentioned, and then just never actually be in the movie? Like, why is that? So it's interesting enough to want to actually do that for me. But with
and
Guardians, I didn't really have that. It was like, oh, it's like you said, it's all contained, and I'm okay watching that. But that goes back to the inherent difference with DC and Marvel to me. DC is storylines that stay with you, and Marvel is just big flashy things that you're over and done with.
honestly, Guardians is stayed with me much more than Watchmen has.
It's because you're a robot.
Or we just have differences of opinion. Which is fine.
Because you're a robot.
I am not a robot.
I am not a robot. See, it's what I hear when you say that. I am not a robot.
I am not a robot.
Sure.
Now, when I take over the world, you know, there'll be some robots roaming around. But me personally, I am not a robot.
Okay. Okay. There's Skynet. Actually, okay. You know what? Since we're about an hour into this, I do want to go ahead and stop here. But I do want to end on a joke, and um,
I'm scared.
yeah, an actual joke. That I'm stealing from Gotham tonight. Are you ready,
Okay.
kids?
I'm scared.
Now, see. Okay. Before we get to the joke, I want to explain why it is I'm telling the joke. Remember how I told you that tonight we actually got to see the introduction of the Riddler?
Yeah.
Yeah? No?
Yeah.
Okay. Nigma is not dressed up in the green outfit or anything like that, but he actually is committing crimes and painting green question marks on shit. Okay, so he's one or two degrees away from actually being full on Riddler. Okay, but he actually murders a police officer in tonight's episode, and then okay, just to end on a spoiler note here, it's all to set Jim Gordon up. Okay, but anyway, he kills a police officer, and when he goes in the and when he goes into the officer's apartment, he's carrying something in his hand. You don't really get to see it until he's asked the question. But he says, "I have a riddle for you," and the riddle is, "What do you call a tavern full of ravens?"
A murder?
No, a crowbar.
That's funny.
And then he proceeds to beat the officer to death with a crowbar, which is a very subtle nod. Like the stupid jokes and beating someone to death with a crowbar is a very subtle nod to the Joker beating Robin to death. I liked it. It made me like it. It's not. Now I'm not saying that this is that same level of incident. It's just that knowing that was how Robin was killed, and that the Joker was was cracking wise throughout the whole sequence where he's beating him to death. It just struck me as being a little very subtle nod to it. It made me happy.
That was pretty fun.
Gotham's amazing, but anyway, we're gonna quit right now while we're ahead. So please remember to like this video, comment on it, share it, subscribe to the channel, like us on Facebook, tell Nick how much you are in fear of him and his giant cyborg robotic body from walking around and crushing you and your favorite toy at some point in time.
Not a robot.
Robot.
Not a robot. No.
Yes, you are. And it's okay, Nick. We can still be friends, even though you're a robot. An evil, world-crushing robot.
Not world crushing, government crushing. But not a robot.
Whatever.
Enjoy the Nicholas Empire.
But yeah, that's going to be it for tonight. So we will talk to all of you on Wednesday.
Yes. Goodbye, everyone. See you then.
Bye, everybody.